Hey everyone, today is Monday, August 24th, and welcome to a very special live interview on X. It's simulcast on Reddit for viewers there, and with a rebroadcast on YouTube as well. Let me introduce myself. I am Laptop Travel, a 45-year veteran trader who's spent decades navigating every kind of market you can imagine, going back before the crash of 1987. These days, I run an investment newsletter, conduct deep dive research, and work within the story trading Discord community, as well as for retail retail volts and Gatewatch as an analyst, where we focus on the real stories that actually move stocks, not just the noise. So please follow me on X for great stock picks and investing ideas. So a quick disclaimer here today before we dive in. Nothing said here today by me or our guests should be taken as investment advice or a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any security. This is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a qualified financial advisor. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Markets can be and are volatile, and you could lose money. With that out of the way, I want to welcome everyone to this live interview, and I'm thrilled to interview today's guest. It's Randy Seidl, CEO and Director of Rain Enhancement Technologies Holdco Incorporated, and they trade under the ticker symbol RAIN. That's RAIN, appropriate. Uh, Randy is a CEO and the Director of Rain Enhancement Technologies, which is a public company, and they're focused on ionization based precipitation enhancement to address water scarcity. He became the CEO, um, initially as co CEO, following the January 2025 SPAC closing, and now the sole CEO. Uh, he- and it is a technology company uh, where he has been in a industry veteran with nearly 4 decades of experiencing scaling companies and driving revenue growth. Uh, Seidel began as an employee number 33 at EMC. We're going to ask him about that in a moment. Rising to the VP of Open System Sales for North America, and he later has held other positions with many other companies. Uh, so, Rain Enhancement Technologies develops and commercializes its Weather Enhancement Technology Array, we call it WETA, platform ground based, typically solar powered systems that use corona discharge to ionize aerosols. So, uh, a lot of tech here that we'll have to clear up for our viewers, which also enhances cloud condensation and boosts rainfall or snowfall, as
Mhm.
reported. They even carry a guarantee of a 10% performance guarantee. So we're really excited to see this. Randy, welcome to the show. We're really pumped to drive into your vision here for rain enhancement technologies. Uh, Maybe educate the viewers on really how you do this. Um, and this is like a revolutionary concept. Um, and your recent debut on Nasdaq. So many investors are excited about this. So tell us about yourself and exactly is headed. Uh, what is ahead for solving the global water scarcity.
Absolutely. Well, I think like you have several years under my belt. So maybe we'll just keep it at that. Thanks for the nice introduction there. If it's okay to call you John.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, so really excited about the opportunity here. Every day there's more and more articles. I think New York Times the past 3 days, each of the days there's been something talking about the water scarcity in the West. So there's a just a frame up the problem. I really didn't properly realize it until I really started here at Rain Enhancement, but there's this tremendous water shortage out west. The western states are all fighting over different water rights. Which is really just a mess, and it continues to amaze me all the time, effort, money being spent looking at how bad it is and really not enough being spent on what's a tremendous opportunity. John Meyer, Utah State University, was recently quoted saying it's really, water is the new gold rush. And certainly, as you go around the world, the problem is even more acute with hunger, people dying, and other water shortages situations. So it's something where we all grew up thinking, okay, you just take for granted you're going to turn the faucet and the water's going to be there. But as you look, going forward, that it's really not the case. And there's really limited opportunities for solutions that can actually provide more. So that's where we come in, being able to provide more.
That's great. Uh, can can you walk us a little bit through your career journey and how your experiences have led you and maybe prepared you to lead this weather tech company? And as you said, you didn't start off in weather tech, correct? And then
Yeah, no,
I do have to
I'm
ask
still
you,
learning
what is
every day as I. I was just on a call. We are talking about some ag solutions earlier, and they're using these acronyms like, okay, what's this? So, what does that mean? So, I guess if you kind of peel back my onion, if you call it that, I'm really a sales guy at heart. Was at EMC, as you mentioned before, which started in 1985. Was there for 11 years. Started off in basically what would be called telemarketing. I guess they're inside sales these days. Ran that group, started and ran UK operation, started and ran the Australia operation, ran East for sales, West for sales, and then ran a North American group. Then went to go run a couple small private companies that nobody would have heard of. And then back on the bigger career track was at Sun Microsystems running North America before the tail end when things were getting sold. And then went to HP to run the Americas business and the US business. And I guess that would have been probably the biggest job, which is about $9 billion of revenue and 4,000 people. And then for the past dozen or so years, I've been serving on boards. I wrote a book on sales, doing advising consulting, and some prior colleagues that I had either known or worked with previously from EMC days approached me with this opportunity just about 2 years ago. And it was something where I just said it's great to be working at a company where you're really kind of solving a problem. Not that tech companies aren't solving problems, but this is a genuine problem, and I think does a great job of kind of just leveraging my kind of go to market skills, starting new relationships, creating opportunities. Working with partners and channels, and really just helping to understand what the situation is, and really how we can help and help provide great return on investment.
Yeah. Uh, what motivated you to take on the CEO role for a company basically that you know you had no experience in, and not many people do, I'm sure, in rain technology.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's boring, but kind of been in tech companies, where the chief information officers and chief data officers and senior execs are going to be selling to. So it's kind of a normal pattern, and who you're selling to, who you're partnering with, kind of the go-to-market strategies. And yeah, things kind of evolve, but as much as they change, they're kind of still the same. And this was just something that was completely out of left field, completely different, and that's really makes it so exciting. Example, last week I was at the CWC Colorado Water Congress, which was an event of basically Colorado water districts and Steamboat. And these are all personas where 2 years ago, I didn't even know water districts really even existed. Now we're kind of talking to them, understanding their needs, kind of how we can help them, what's going on in the space. So it's really the challenge of really doing something completely different from what I had done before.
Yeah. I understand that you uh, have been, and I'm not sure if you still are, but we're on the Ondas Holdings board,
Yep, still
ONDS.
great company. Eric's done a great job. Are you familiar with them?
Yes.
Great. And, interesting trajectory there. If it makes some similarities, I mean, they were, very low price, sub 100 million market cap, and has done an amazing job within a short period of time, bringing it up. I don't know what it is today, but, give or take, kind of $5 billion market cap.
Yeah. Um, so before you took on this role, what was your did you have experience or knowledge of the water scarcity issue?
Embarrassingly enough, not at all.
Wow.
So I mean, full disclosure. And every time I kept reading about it, I keep looking, kind of turning the rocks over. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I had no idea. And then, people just don't know. And now there's certainly been a lot more written about it in the past 6 months. But yeah, I really had full disclosure. I had no idea. And, really had never taken any meteorology or weather class. So I am always a sponge for learning everything and anything, probably almost with every conversation I have.
Yeah. So in talking to people prior to this interview, a lot of people first off said, "Well, you're doing it with planes, right?" And then I said, "No, you're not doing it with planes." And then the next obvious question was because we're in this drone boom, right? Was you're doing it with drones? So you're not. Can you explain how you're doing this? And also, I believe that your sites or most of your sites are solar powered, correct?
Yep, all of them. So,
Oh,
typically, kind of by way of introduction, so when you think of kind of cloud seeding, especially Western United States, typically that involves silver iodide, which is something of a chemical, which is, a small amount admittedly, but still something that people can get wigged out about these days. And it could be ground-based, but more than not, typically it's drones and planes. So if you use drones and planes, you need people. You're going to only kind of invest in flying when you think there's a good chance of something happening. And that only works at the coldest temperatures, -5, -6 degrees Celsius. With ours, I would argue we're different and better. We are all natural, so it's ionization, so there are no chemicals at all. So, for any people that get upset about that, we check that box. We're also all year round, so not just the coldest temperatures in the winter, but all winter, and then also spring, summer, fall, which works out great. And as you just mentioned, in terms of solar powered, we are solar powered, so that way it doesn't cost anything to operate. So really, anytime there's any chance of anything running, John, we're going to be on. So we're able to enhance and in order to set up, a lot of times say, well, how do you know where you're going to do it? So we take a look at what's called wind roses. It turns out there's deliberate wind patterns anytime there's a precipitation event. So say if I'm going to enhance you're in front of me, so to speak, we'll know that you need to be downwind from where we are. And then depending upon the geography, there's an area of about 100 to 360 square miles as a polygon that we're actually able to enhance. So big benefit compared to the traditional cloud seeding, again, in that there's no chemicals. We can operate year round. We're solar powered and some other things as well.
wow. Uh, so today, uh, now that you've been a public company and you maybe have even been able to investigate the landscape of the need of the consumers uh, and even government entities, LGUs and things in in the future, uh, how do you propose for the company to aim to provide reliable access to water differently? And can you give an overview of what the company does for those who are less familiar with it.
Yeah,
And
I
going to
mean,
this, you have a solar based platform, I guess, right? And you talked about these roses.
yeah. So just to not confuse things, so windrows is something that we're able to take a meteorology team is able to take a look at and say, okay, what are the wind patterns? So that way, then we know kind of where we want to situate because we have to make sure the enhancement area is downwind. And then we have, you'd mentioned before, the WETA, Weather Enhancement Technology Array, which basically looks like a American football goalpost of sorts, 26 feet high, 39 feet wide, and that's what emits the ions. And if you can picture you're kind of sitting around a campfire at night, kind of how that smoke kind of drifts up, and, in a direction, kind of similar thing. The wind currents are able to pull those electric charged ions up and causes a stimulation. So if it's going to rain or snow, we can help it rain 10 to 20% more, rain or snow 10 or 20% more. We can't make something from nothing, but if there's going to be something, we can make that something more. And we're the only company out there that actually has a guarantee. We have a 10% guarantee, which again, coming from the tech industry for so many years, people would always set expectations on performance and guarantees. And for whatever reason, in this kind of industry, that's something that has not been done before, which shook up a lot of people, but is something that we stand behind.
Yeah. A lot of think people had a misconception, I think, had asked, like, so you can go somewhere where it hasn't drained, I'm sorry, hasn't rained for weeks and it's completely arid area. I think somebody said like Death Valley or something, and you can make it rain, but that's not really your promise. That's
Right.
not
So
even
if
the
it's going to
business model.
rain, we'll make it, in the case of rain or snow, more. There is a very detailed study. All this information is on our website, randenhancement.com. But in Oman, 2013, using the same ionization technology, did a very detailed 6-year study. And that's that's probably pretty similar to Death Valley, as you mentioned. And we showed over a 6-year period, every year on average, a 15% level of enhancement, including double-blind testing. And another interesting thing that we do, a lot of people say, well, how do you really know it, and how do you show it? If you're using, planes as an example, they're targeting the clouds. You never know where the clouds are going to end up and where it's going to land. The way we show results is by basically ground-based buckets, said simplistically. So call it snow tell sites for snow, rain gauges for rain, and we're able to take a look at the site that we're enhancing, and then we do that to the controlled compare site to kind of see what the differences are. And as an example, for the LaSalle Mountains, which are outside Utah, outside of Moab, Utah, this year we proved that we enhanced greater than 20%, which was obviously a very bad snow year. And if you do out the metrics conservatively, we estimate that provided an extra 8,750 acre feet of water, which is pretty substantial. If you do the numbers on the math, digging a little bit further, works out to be about $9 per acre foot, and that just for the winter does not take into account what we're able to provide for spring, summer, fall as well.
Wow. So that begs the question. You mentioned Salt Lake and Moab. Uh, Are you also offering, I mean, obviously comes to mind is, ski surface enhancements for
Yep.
is that applicable?
Absolutely, very, very much so. And we're engaged in several conversations there. So ski areas, ranchers, agriculture companies, these local water districts, conservancy districts that are out there, golf resorts. So really anybody that needs water. And interestingly enough, in the U.S., things are really very fragmented between private, call it private landowners, farmers, ag producers. You have the states. You've got the water agencies. As you go, outside the U.S., things are a little bit more organized at a national level, which at some point would be great if the U.S. would wake up and say, okay, let's get our act together, kind of more to, from a national scope.
Yeah. Uh, is this also applicable for fire mitigation? Because this year we've seen some
Right.
devastating wildfires.
Yeah, not as much. So there's a common sense which you'd say, okay, you can help, but we're very sensitive about not making any claims unless they're, the right science and research and everything are behind them. So we basically do not say anything about being able to help there.
Yeah. So can you explain how your one-to-many community centric business model in detail? How can one WETA array serve multiple clients and then leverage your operating profits?
Absolutely. So, say as an example, you might have half a dozen ranchers, landowners, where they wouldn't necessarily be able to afford us, just for their land, and they would say, "Hey, we don't want to pay for you," and all of a sudden have you be taking care of our neighbor's land. So then what we'll do is we'll take a look at what's the coverage area that we'll be enhancing. Who are those recipients? We'll go talk to each of them, and then for lack of better words, kind of pass the hat. So the one unit then can, in effect, take care of several people. And then another question that we get asked is, hey, can you stack, five of them on top and then double the effect? So the answer is no, we can't stack on top, but we can certainly spread out across.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, how does Rain generate revenue today? Can you walk through like hardware sales, Rain's as a service, or performance-based contracts, which I'm sure you have. You mentioned about the guarantee, and
Mhm.
how do you see this mix evolving in the future?
Absolutely. Well, we've for revenue, as you can tell, it's been negligible so far, but we have a strong pipeline that we're working to improve and have results and numbers on the board for sure. Some of the different ways you can always buy it. I think initially a lot of people will be doing kind of renting or leasing, and could be a rent to lease to own as an example as well. Also talk to people around pay for performance. So if we set expectations at X, we can kind of work out the numbers and say, okay, you pay per acre foot of results. And again, from the world that I came into with technology, is you don't necessarily go at them with saying, here's exactly what it is, here's some variables, and you kind of let the market decide what they want to do and how they want to do it. And also over time, again, coming from the technology industry, where value selling is a big deal. For those that don't know, value selling simplistically is if you're selling some really kind of anything or anything technology centric. You want to be able to have a CFO jumping through their shoes. The way you have a CFO jumping through their shoes, or you're able to say, here's how it helps you generate revenue, save money. In the case of this with water, here's how we're able to show them, here's the water that we're able to generate, and here's what the value is of that water. So over time, as we get more and more data points, I'm very comfortable that we'll also be able to raise these prices as well.
Yeah. So if I understood correctly, you would actually sell a, a water enhancement technology array, a WETA, to clients, and then
Yes.
and then there's and then do they pay for your team to operate it, or you actually do hands-on training and let them run with it?
Uh, Again, either way, there's really not that much involved. So it's a lot of it's more kind of on the reporting side of things. So it is remote and autonomous. So we're able to kind of work that out. They want us to do it. If they want to do it, a lot of times people like the idea of kind of doing it themselves. We also partner with local universities and academics in terms of looking at the results and validation in terms of what we're able to do and how we're able to do it.
Yeah. Who would you say are your primary target customers?
Yeah, so far it's been a lot of the water districts, but as I said, a lot of the expanding now with the ski resorts, golf resorts, ranchers, ag companies. We also have, which we announced a couple of weeks ago, the water district. By some people might be familiar with the ski area Steamboat, or Steamboat Springs, Colorado area. The local water district there is the Upper Yampa Water Conservancy District, and the state of Colorado is actually going to be funding a 1 year, basically paid pilot for us to do there. We anticipate, given an average year, so you never know what if the year is going to be average or not, but just by way of comparison, that would provide them about 10,000 acre feet of water, which would be of huge value to them. And it was also great that there's another group involved with the West, the Colorado River District. They are also actively involved in making that introduction. And what was very nice with the general manager there, Andy Rossi, is to me, he reminded me more of a technology company type decision maker. We went through, we had the discussion. He's, for his basically say, this is a no brainer. We do it, it works. It's kind of, you do all the effort, and, this is a no brainer. I don't know why everybody else isn't doing it. So I think just a lot of the decision making DNA with some of these folks just kind of, takes a while for them to see what's going on and how we're doing it. And, more and more as I think we get the word out there, folks like you and other press and publications that kind of publicize the efforts and how we can help, I think will help things for us.
Yeah. Have you done any number crunching on what you think is your total addressable market out there.
Yeah,
And
so I'd also say we're complementary. Some of these other solutions, I think we can all fit in together. But if you take combined what the revenues are now, are I'd argue small. All in with some research we've done, we think total addressable market in traditional sense, kind of more of the kind of 5 to 10 billion dollar mark. If you really look at all the right use cases, and I think kind of what and how people are going to be needing to do things going forward. So you can do the math, 1, 2, 5% of, $5 or $10 billion can be pretty significant.
yeah, I would imagine from just, I mean, just from my thought is that the economic value of, say, an inch of incremental rainfall is maybe widely different between different consumers, between water districts and golf courses, ski hills, ski resorts, and farmers. Is that fair?
Yeah, and it kind of depends upon what they get charged, right? So, up until this year, golf was kind of, I think, probably middle of the year where people started figuring out, well, we're really short on water. So, some water districts were aggressive in, ramping up what they charge. But, as an example, I think probably next year, what golf courses get charged for water is a lot more. A lot of the Western communities are, charging differently now. If you're going to be, watering, outside your lawn or flowers, it's really, highly frowned upon. And then to put some teeth in being highly frowned upon means, okay, you're going to pay several times more for that water versus what's in your house. So, going forward, I think the prices are going to only continue to go up. From an agriculture perspective, hay and alfalfa are, very, very, very water centric. You need water to do that. There's, articles written about where people are having to sell off land to make ends meet. They're having to, sell off cattle to make ends meet, and it's really, all crazy enough as it sounds, really just based off of this, water shortage. So we're able to do some work, even more deeply at the, ag level to say, okay, based on different types of crops, what's their production, how many batches do they do, and based on the water, what do those economics work out to be? But in pretty much all these cases, the return on investment's a no-brainer compared to what their return would be compared to what we charge.
Yeah. So how do you as a CEO balance in your head, well, certainly on paper, uh, the the decision to produce and sell these WETA units versus keeping them in house and offering this as a service? How do you balance the financial rewards to those?
Yeah, great example. So again, I go in the technology company, right? Went for a lot of years where infrastructure was always sold, then it was leased, and then now it's kind of as a service, and then you had likewise software that was always licensed, annual fees, and then all of a sudden went to as a service model. And I'd argue I don't think it was necessarily Larry Ellison sitting back there and saying, okay, here's how I'm going to direct the market, but kind of the market pulls in different areas. So it's a lot of words for we're flexible, however the market best wants to consume it. We're happy to help and bob and weave accordingly.
Yeah. Um, can you can you can you just walk me through the technical end, for viewers, of how does this actually work? How does the ionization of aerosols to enhance precipitation, and what atmospheric conditions are required for the most effectiveness for you? Uh, and how far out are you looking at these wind and precipitation patterns?
Yep.
Is it day,
So
hours, days, weeks?
yeah, so the wind patterns we look at are really in hindsight, because once we do an install, it's cemented in, so we can move it, but it's not something we're going to be moving it on a daily basis. We do have a mobile trailer on the radar that we're using with our fog mitigation solution, which we can talk about after. But the knowing the wind directions is something that we're able to look at to say, what historically what has it been, so that way then we know where we're going to do the install, and then that way we know where we're actually going to be enhancing. And then part of the beauty that we don't need to have a lot of people, it doesn't really have any incremental cost for us, whether we run, you know, every day, if we run, 24 hours or just an hour a day, because we're solar powered, it doesn't cost us anything. So unlike some other companies, we don't need to be making those decisions to say, okay, what's the best bang for the buck? So long story short, anytime, John, there's any chance of any precipitation at all, we're going to be on. And so that's how we're able to kind of hit up, any storm possible. And then if there's not going to be anything, then we basically turn it off, and then we're able to regenerate. So that's how we're able to be on. And then relative to kind of a little bit more on the technology side, so ions get emitted, the wind currents are able to carry those up, and it creates a reaction where it makes those drops or snowflakes bigger, dropping down. And then I'll also maybe transition in just on our fog mitigation solution as well, that we've been doing some pilot testing in Australia. And we've been on the record that we've got a large U.S. highway department that's looking at doing a pilot with us as well. So if you think about fog being simplistically, zillions of these kind of water molecules, what we're able to do is make those molecules a little bit bigger, so then they drop down, so it kind of clears out that line of sight to help decrease the amount of fog. So some of the use cases there for the one I just mentioned would be certainly highway traffic, and specifically, deaths and accidents that are happening there. Also, any large canals where there's ships, airports as well, relative to planes. So, anytime a ship might get held up or a plane gets held up, that's, usually, millions of dollars.
Yeah, boy, I can really appreciate the fog thing. We're gonna talk about that more in detail, but I have some crazy firsthand experiences with those situations.
Oh, wow.
Um, so if you see rain clouds, okay, but it's not going to actually, or say, let's not say it's not actually raining, but there are rain clouds forming. Can you can you create that occurrence, the rain occurrence, even if the clouds were maybe gonna just pass the area through wind? I mean, can you force the rain?
Yeah. So we're not, I'd say from a scientific or technical perspective, no, but I'll give you some subjective feedback. The water district outside Moab is GWISA, Grand Water Sewer Service Agency. And one of the board members there, Kevin, just talking to him last week, he said, call me crazy. He said, I see the clouds come through. The storm clouds where you are darker, faster, and we get, this is all subjective, right? And we get more rain right here. And then all of a sudden it passes and the cloud changes. So in this world, different again from the tech world, in this world there has to be scientifically validated, a lot of research, all that. So those are just subjective data points, but it's certainly something interesting to ponder.
Yeah. Uh, so what's the typical coverage area? Maybe if you can give us in square miles downwind. And secondly is with a with let's just say a 10%, with a 10% increase in the expected rainfall, can you relate that to depth, maybe in quarter of an inch or inch depth, or cubic feet in water?
Yep. So the coverage area, depending upon the geography, a low to high is probably 100 square miles. If you can picture a polygon, which is long sides on the long sides and the short side, so about 100 square miles up to 360 square miles. So it can be pretty substantial. And based on some of the results already, it mentioned for Moab, it was 8,750 acre feet just for the winter. And I believe that worked out to be about 2.85 billion gallons of water.
Wow, wow, it's amazing. Um, and how much uh, independent data and trials um, have been supporting your results that you can feel confident to offer a 10% guarantee? What's who's performed most of these states? I think Utah has been a has done one that I read about.
Yep. Yeah, so there we did for this past winter. Admittedly, you need to have several years of data, so that certainly was a good start. Then I mentioned the Oman trials that have been done 2013 for 6 years. A lot of detail analysis there, and then we're have a collection now up to 40 peer-reviewed research papers around ionization technology. But certainly, as we continue, every single installation, we're going to continue to validate the results and have everybody looking at it and showing what we do and how we can do it. So it's really based on those results that then we're able to come up with a guarantee. And there's still people over the years that said, well, we're doing the cloud seeding, but nobody could really prove it, so we stopped. So you got to put your money where your mouth is.
Absolutely. So besides these independent studies that are being done or studied by maybe universities and governments, I'm sure you must have your own monitoring equipment downwind, but you're collecting data every time you run one of these. Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's where we look to get that validated as well. So for the winter, it's called SnowTel sites. It captures the snow, and then for the warm weather rain, it's rain gauges.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back, because I want to talk about your fog mitigation thing. So one of the worst roads I've ever been on in my life was I think from if anybody knows, in Northern California, from Tracy to Livermore or Pleasanton in the morning, because you have this huge valley, the agricultural valley in that part of California.
Yeah,
And in the morning, the moisture is just so dense, and the fog. I've never seen wrecks like this where literally you cannot see feet in front. I've seen like 135 cars just boom, 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 and
yep.
so I was just amazed when I heard that you have a technology which like is seems like really it's like the light bulb comes on, like duh, that you actually make the fog droplets heavier, that they just fall to the ground. And you call it FRIA, and I'm not sure what FRIA stands for, but some kind of fog mitigation. Can you go into that and how that works?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much leveraging the same technology, and I mean, you described it well. It just kind of clears it out. So there's some research. I think grew up to about 19 peer-reviewed research studies that have talked about this technology, but it's something that we're extremely optimistic about and has very unique use cases as you mentioned, and oftentimes life-saving use cases as well.
Yeah, I can imagine that there are like I said, I know this stretch of highway
Yep.
is just absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I can
Um,
picture it totally. Yeah. And I forgot. I'm sorry. It's fog removal enhancement array, FREA, FREA. Sorry.
okay, uh, but so for me, looking at it from a business standpoint, then that opens up. You don't just need. You're not just looking in drought markets anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's really the market. We probably need to do more work on it, but I think everywhere you look, there's potential customers, which from my sales hat is a great thing.
Yeah, I can imagine that's got to be a data collection nightmare. Um, on the effectiveness of it. I mean, you can look out your windshield and know it's effective, but I don't know. Monitoring that, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, and we've also, I think, gotten a lot more awareness, even a lot better since last year. So we attended the AMS, American Meteorology Society conference in Madison, Wisconsin, 2 3 weeks ago, and we actually had 4 different presentations around the FRIA that we just mentioned, around the results, around our statistical methodology. So there's a lot more people that are paying attention, and listening and learning to what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Yeah. So one big question that I was asked many times, and just a fair question, is if you're enhancing the rainfall in one area with your WETA system, aren't
Yeah,
you effectively taking precipitation away from somewhere
yeah.
else?
Are we stealing? So that comes up. That comes
Yeah,
up
yeah,
a lot. We for Colorado, part of the process was we had to do public hearing Zoom, and that came up several times, along as also with the chemicals. But whether it's us or traditional cloud seeding, there is no theft. What happens is when there's a precipitation event, 9% comes out of the cloud. So even if you say we're enhancing to 20%, so call the 9 goes to 10.8, it's still a negligible amount. And then also clouds always continue to replenish themselves. So there's no issue with that. I was trying to think what are other questions. Other questions that come up and say, if there's a bird or something, sitting on the top, are they going to get electrocuted? And the answer is no. Just like power cords outside, unless you had a 30-foot dinosaur or something like that, maybe maybe they would. Chemtrails, contrails, we have nothing to do with that. Other question that sometimes comes up is, okay, if there's going to be bad weather, are we going to make that worse? And the answer is no. We'll typically know a few days ahead of time if there's going to be any bad weather. But, John, even if right now we're enhancing and something's going to come through later tonight, we would have a remote shutoff. So we don't make that potential bad situation worse. And if you can imagine, certainly somewhere like Moab, who is so summer outdoorsy centric for ATVs and bikes and hikings and rafting and kind of everything else. That was something they had concerned about, and we're able to kind of have them be rest assured that we weren't going to make any of that bad situation worse.
Yeah. Can you address long distance benefits? What comes to mind is recent comments from the the Los Angeles County area about their water shortages and having, of course, they have to pull away water from Lake Mead in Las Vegas and all that. Um, is it can could you as a business, can you make a sales pitch to a company that to a government entity that is so far away, removed from their actual water source? Is
Yeah,
that hard,
great,
hard
great,
fit?
great point. Interestingly, so I should have mentioned before, yeah. So Lake Powell, Lake Mead are kind of at record, near record low levels, which is a
Right.
travesty not only just for the water, but if you think about the power companies that also depending upon that. So, that's a whole mess. But the way actually they get the water is from the upper basin states. So from Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, and the lower basin states actually pay money to those upper basin states for some of these rain enhancement programs. And unfortunately, it's nothing what it, I mean, it's probably, I think it's like 600K a state or something like that. And I don't know why it's not millions or tens of millions of dollars, but there are efforts underway to continue to focus on what's the amount of water that's actually coming down. And it basically comes down the Colorado River into Lake Powell and Lake Mead. And then to further complicate things, there's these, it's called water rights. So you could be in wherever, Colorado or Utah, water comes down. If you don't have that water right, you're not going to get it. And it's going to then go down to somebody else. And then conversely, in Texas, your water, whatever's there, you actually are able to get. So it's just amazing. It's so different in so many different states. But to your initial question, the water for Lake Powell and Lake Mead actually comes from very far away from where they are. And that's why part of the, kind of all this, dogfight that's going on. And then interestingly enough, you take a look at some of the states with the data centers, with the developments, Arizona's been written about, recently. So it's just, again, more and more rocks you look under, it just gets kind of worse and worse.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. So you talked about Oman, but we really have done a lot of conversation about Western United States. But I understand that you're also in uh, other international markets. Can you talk about that and where do you see the greatest opportunities?
Yep, yeah, absolutely. So the ones I can talk about publicly, we did a press release a couple weeks ago about a joint go-to-market program that we have going on in Turkey. So we're looking forward to getting some positive results there. Certainly, the Arab countries have been arid, so water shortage there. And then there's a handful of other countries where we are in active discussions as well, helping them.
Yeah. Um, once you once you sign the contract or the deal, What's a typical deployment time look like from, the moment you get up from the
Yep.
contract to setting up the equipment to delivering, waiting, doing research until the final delivery?
Yep, absolutely. So the steps we basically need to deliver. So we have a warehouse in Colorado now. So depending if it's going to go to Colorado or Utah, it's short. If it's going to go to Turkey, I was going to take a little bit longer to get there. So it takes time to get to wherever it is. And then the all-in site installation is pretty straightforward. That gets done in a week. So we have, if you picture the WETA, the fuel goal kind of goalpost structure, there's a small fenced-in area of about 1/10 of an acre, solar panel, control panel. So all that is pretty straightforward to get installed and running. And then pretty much as soon as we're done with everything, it goes on and can start enhancing right away, depending upon if there's precipitation events or not. So it's a pretty straightforward process and timeline. With some states, so that's just the raw installation, and then kind of depending upon the states. So for the Steamboat Colorado site, we're kind of going through that permit process now, which takes some time to have them review it. In that case, then we do notice of intents in local newspapers, and we do a public hearing, which again we've done before. Other states don't necessarily have that public hearing, so it's a little bit faster, easier. So it's really not that challenging of a kind of process. And we're involved in some government grants now. As a matter of fact, they're looking for results and enhancement possibilities for this winter, which we obviously think we're very capable of.
Yeah. So Randy is the CEO of this new or relatively early stage company. What do you see as the top operational and financial priorities for the near 12 to
Sure.
24 months for our investors who are looking out there?
Yeah. So, common sense perspective, operational, you need to have the product and inventory and, supply chain to do that. And then the manpower to install, which I think we've got a great team able to do that. And then, financial side, you need to have money. Our chairman has been very supportive, Harry Yu. So we had a line of credit he'd been extending us for a while, and we are just in the midst of going through a ATM process where we've done about 2.3 million out of possible 3.5. So we've got plenty of run rate from a cash perspective. So from your question, operational and financial, I'm very confident our position that we're in.
Okay. We haven't You haven't talked about regulation. What regulatory permitting, uh, or other legal regulatory hurdles does the company face, and are there these out there?
Yeah, there's a handful of states that have banned what they call weather modification. But we're in the midst of actually going back to those because a lot of that is kind of written based on the kind of chemical aspect. So the fact that we're no chemicals is something that we think can be a beneficiary of. Matter of fact, a few weeks ago, there's a Wyoming publication that wrote about us, and the legislature has been pretty loud about no chemicals. And he was having a debate with me, and I said, as I say, you're preaching to the choir, but they had kind of pushed back, and he said, well, you don't have any chemicals. So he was actually able to get to some of those legislatures saying, well, if there's a chemical free solution, then that's something we might be able to look at. So even where it is potentially banned, we are potentially looking at seeing about reversing that. And then the other side of the coin is what's the approvals that are needed. The Colorado process, which I kind of mentioned briefly, is for us at least pretty simple and straightforward that we've gone through before. You apply, you've got a operations permit, you've got a kind of site coverage location where you're going to do it. They approve it. We agree on doing a notice of intent in the local newspapers as well as the surrounding counties. I think it's one a week for 3 weeks. That points to a public hearing Zoom, which we had done for our Weld County, Colorado installation last year. And people had to get on, ask questions. And it actually was kind of nice too, because they had my contact information. So a lot of people had, reached out to me, and I was actually at my goddaughter's wedding in Ireland, and people were calling, and yeah, obviously are worked up, but once, as long as they can kind of listen and understand, then kind of they're really able to be calmed. A lot of them ask the same questions that you asked, and then from there, then we get the permit approved. Other states, it's not quite as rigorous. It's more of a kind of notice of intent process. People can kind of debate if they want. Then there's varying degrees of responsiveness. And then also point out from an environmental perspective, there's really nothing needed but to be proactive for our fog mitigation solution. As an example, for California, we had reached out to the proper authorities there, and we got a response back in a week, and it was kind of politely said, "I don't know why you're asking. There's no issue at all here." So no environmental issue, and each state varies relative to the regulatory approval that's needed, which I'd argue is all fair, responsible, and a proper, fair process for us or anybody to go through.
Wow. Uh, what uh, what do you feel are the the biggest technical or scientific risks or limitations for your company as you ramp up and expand?
I'll try and say it politely, but it's really just people kind of listening and understanding that any of their concerns we can address, and having the right, again, I'll come back to, tech sales, but just kind of, the DNA of the personas that are kind of, a lot of these people I think are just not used to making decisions, right? So they're used to taking a long time. They're used to things, hey, things have always been the same way. Here's what we've done. So the biggest, I say, whether you want to call it risk or our ability to continue or our ability to ramp more and more, really is just kind of that acceptance and open-minded decision making, where we can really answer pretty much all concerns and eliminate pretty much all risks, for very favorable pricing and a fantastic ROI.
Um, yeah. The uh, I'm sorry.
It's all
um,
good.
yeah. When you look at the whole science that's behind it, and you said building the units and stuff, um, how much are you still investing in R&D? Is there still some things to be learned or enhanced going forward for the company and this technology?
Yes, I mentioned we've got the kind of trailer unit that we're using for our fog mitigation. So looking at doing that for our WETA as well. And then we have a roadmap as well. I'd argue with kind of, it's more with kind of small tweaks as opposed to anything revolutionary. But we pretty much have a great solution, works now, can be installed now, can help provide more water now.
For you, Randy, as the CEO, if you look out 3 to 5 years, what defines success for rain enhancement?
So from a mission perspective, I'd say we're helping with the water crisis. We're certainly, I'd say we're not going to necessarily solve it, but we're certainly, I think, going to be able to help uh, move the tide up a little bit, yeah, so to speak. So I think from a mission perspective that, we're able to have an impact for those areas where we are installed. So as an example, you had mentioned the additional 8,750 acre feet, or the 2.85 gallons that we provided this winter to the LaSalle Mountains there, which, by the way, a lot of that does go into the Colorado and helps those lower basin states. So, making a positive impact there. And then for our, shareholders, providing good return, which is based on us having good, revenue results, customer results, customer satisfaction, none of which I see as, insurmountable by any means.
Yeah. Can you give us investors just a brief overview of the composition of your company? Um, how many employees? How many are dedicated to maybe hardware? How many dedicated to sales? How many involved in meteorology or tech?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we are kind of all in head counts about 54. We're able to get a big benefit from our advisory group. So there's a lot of people that have been very seasoned and experienced that we'd never be able to hire, that we're able to do different projects around introductions, helping with the permits, helping with some of the technical research aspect of things, and kind of just general technical expertise and kind of go to market expertise. Because we're public, we also have a very very strong and seasoned board. Our last addition was Dave Sylvester, who's was previously longtime CFO at Steelcase, so brings a lot of that kind of audit committee and financial expertise there. And then our full-time team that's able to kind of pretty much do everything that we need to do.
Wow. But you covered a lot of things. We're almost out of time for today's interview. I really wanted to give you an opportunity for a few final words from you before we wrap it up. Just open up the 40. Is there anything else that you want to share with our viewers, or something you think that we overlooked or I didn't ask, or any final messages for current and your prospective shareholders?
Yeah, if anybody's anywhere that you need water, reach out, Randy at rainenhancement.com. So I guess that's the first thing. But you covered just be aware there is a huge water crisis. People should be responsible for what they're doing and how they're doing it, and heed the warnings. They are actually legit, even though it may seem crazy. And we are in a position where we can help, and we'll look forward to helping with this tremendous water crisis.
Wow. Thank you so much, Randy.
Uh,
We've been talking with Randy Seidl, the CEO of Rain Enhancement. Thank you for taking the time to join us today and providing, this clear, really insightful overview of your company, Rain Enhancement Technologies. Uh, and folks, I'll tell you, go to the website. It's rainenhancement.com. Um, and it's it's full with lots of information, good graphics. This is not an endorsement to buy or sell any security. You have to do your own research. Check
yep.
out their website. There's a lot of information, like I said, uh, pretty impressive. A lot of cool graphics on it, and a lot more information on it. I think you have a very capable management team, and lots of proprietary technology. No, folks, it's not airplanes and drones anymore. It's totally different. Uh, Take your time, go through that. I would encourage you to. And we look forward to staying in touch with you, Randy, following up on your upcoming catalyst and having you back on the show sometime again soon. Best of luck to you and the entire Rain team. Thank you.
Absolutely, John. Thanks so much. Really enjoyed it.